Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk, and you can watch us live on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. CF Montreal on the weekend, a 1-0 loss versus a team that's pretty terrible on the road. A highlight reel goal, which we'll break down. Their keeper kept them in the game again. A substitution that sparked CF Montreal, but unfortunately, it looks like it came too late. A coach's decision. We're going to look back at what the coach had to tell us a couple of days before the game and actually what happened at the game. We'll talk about the injury situation. The Mercato opens up tomorrow. Gold Cup tonight for Canada. So much to talk about. We'll do it right here, right now. Jeremy Filosa of 98.5 FM and MFC Radio will join me on the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. Jeremy joins me. He's coming up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. CF Montreal Talk.
Here's the chance. They've got the goal. Absolutely incredible. Cameron Porter delivers the goal to send Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. It's gonna be sick.
I'm Marinaro, and he's Filosa. Let's bring him in. Jeremy, what's going on?
How's it going, Tony?
I think it's going okay, but I think it's safe to say that we thought that CF Montreal was going to come away with a win on Saturday night. Why? Yeah. They were playing a team in New York City FC, which is absolutely terrible on the road. Terrible. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, Montreal, not a very good game for them. A bad one, as a matter of fact.
Well, you know what? I think it's the result at the end of the day leads us to believe that it was a bad game. But, Tony, the games that they have won at home recently were not much different, to tell you the truth. I mean, they were on a great streak since April 15th. But what was the secret to success for Montreal at home? Two things. Jonathan Sirois making saves. We got that on Saturday. Yeah. And a team that was able to put one or two balls at the back of the net despite the fact that they didn't create many scoring chances. That was pretty much it. Only they didn't put the ball at the back of the net this time. They only created 0.55 scoring opportunities or projected goals. So, it's not as if we could really say that they deserved the goal. But, once again, it was a game that was a little bit hard to watch. Not much going on. Credit to Pellegrini for the goal he scored. Unfortunately, he was left alone in the box.
Credit to the fans, Jeremy, who showed up and stuck around because Absolutely. It was a 7:30 game that got started at 9:03 p.m. because of a rain delay. And there were a lot of fans in attendance, all things considering the fact that it was, once again, the weather was not cooperating. But, this is a loss that hurts. And I'm going to explain why, Jeremy, because we know that the fans in this city, they come out either if you have a star or if the team wins.
Yep.
They don't have a star, although Sirois has been playing like it. Mm-hmm. And now the team lost. And they got another game coming up on Thursday when they host Atlanta. On Saturday, pardon me. And you, I don't know why I said Thursday. And because Thursday's our next podcast. They got another game on Saturday when they host Atlanta, and you hope that the fans are going to be there because, once again, they only come out for two reasons. And by the way, what happened last week? CF Montreal did not have to spend a marketing dollar. Noel Butler did all the work for them. Noel Butler is a friend of mine.
Yeah,
we used to work at the same radio station together. Mind you, he doesn't work there full time, but he's a collaborator every now and then.
Yeah.
And he sent out a tweet one night late last week at around 10:30 something p.m. saying, "Big CF Montreal news tomorrow, bigger than Drogba." Well, at least I reckon it is. That tweet got over 400,000 views.
That's crazy, Tony.
He went on the English all sports radio station that next day to say, "Hey, by the way, the news is that I'm going to be doing color of the game."
Yeah.
Which upset a lot of people, a lot of passionate fans. Sure. Mind you, I didn't fall for it. I didn't fall. Why? Folks, I know you're spending a lot of time on Twitter, like telling Noel Butler how much you dislike him. I read all your tweets. Here's the deal. When somebody sends out a tweet at 10:30 p.m. or past that they got huge CF Montreal news going to happen tomorrow, when somebody has huge news, you either A, you don't tell anybody because now you've tipped off everyone to dig, or B, you tell them what you've gathered and you say, tomorrow I'll give you an update. When someone says news is coming tomorrow, you can't take it seriously, folks. So don't be upset at Noel Butler. Having said that, when everyone was podcasting and talking about it and reading about it and whatever the next day, maybe you should have tipped people off. I get that. And some people are upset. But folks, what could be bigger than Drogba coming to CF Montreal? Nothing. Because Messi's not coming and Ronaldo's not coming. So nothing.
Well, the only thing that could have been bigger is the team's for sale or something like that, or they've struck a deal to renovate the stadium and they're going to put $100 million in it. That would have been the only thing. What I could tell you is on Friday, I was supposed to have a first full day off in a long, long time. And what did I do? I was on the phone trying to figure out if there was something there. I was able to get in touch with the agent of Eden Hazard. Unfortunately, I didn't get any concrete information about what was going on. I tried again yesterday. Was not able to get concrete information, but I've left many voicemails, many text messages to his agent. I'm hoping that
what am I getting at here? What am I getting at here?
Well, what you're getting at, what you're getting at is that people are starved for something. Please give me some news, a player, a name, something with the stadium, something with ownership, give us something, please.
So Noel Butler's tweet that had over 400,000 views the last time I checked.
Yeah.
His tweet has more views than any tweet the team can send out, despite the fact that they have almost 400,000 followers. Okay. So why are people more interested in his tweet than they are in the games, than they are in the pregame, than they are in the postgame, than they are in the highlight reel goals, than they are in the result, that they are in the press conference? Because it means that there is some CF Montreal interest in the city, but the interest that's there is the interest of a Drogba type of interest, a buzz, a star. So Noel Butler did basically a case study for CF Montreal, absolutely for free. Their marketing department didn't have to spend a penny. And now everyone at CF Montreal knows, if they didn't know already, because we've been telling them ever since we started this podcast, that if you want a buzz in this city, game in, game out, you don't have to worry about the result, win, lose, or draw. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You bring in a player like a Drogba, you're going to have that buzz.
Listen,
I had season tickets when Drogba was here because no one was no longer offering me 4, 6, 8, 10 tickets per game.
Yeah.
Everyone was going then. So I got my season tickets. When he left, I'm not going to lie to you, I gave them up because now everyone's offering me 4, 6, 8, 10 tickets per game.
Well, listen, I mean, you just have to look at Toronto. We could talk about Lorenzo Insigne possibly leaving. We don't know because, apparently he's changed agents. There might be a possibility for him to move somewhere else. But Toronto FC has been a terrible team for the last year, but they've been averaging between 24 and 26,000 fans a game. Why? Because of Lorenzo Insigne. So, and I mean, you see that tweet, and as you mentioned, do you know how hard it is to get 400,000 views? Like, I'm guessing that most of these views are from within Quebec. I'm guessing, CF Montreal fans.
For some, it's hard. I got it singing "I Want to Know What Love Is" out of my Trevi spa outside in my hot tub.
Right. But just to tell you, 400,000 in a province of 8 million, Tony, that means in this whole province, 1 out of 20 people or about saw that tweet. That's what it means.
Yeah.
You know, when you say, I want to get back into the mainstream, how do I, as a team, get back into the mainstream so that le monsieur, madame, tout le monde knows that I'm there, knows that I exist, knows that I'm playing, knows that there's something going on? Well,
and we're talking about this, and it's important. It's not because we want to harp, because I think we've been harping for a while, and it seems like it falls on deaf ears. We've come to a point, Jeremy and I have been talking about this today, and it's not the first time we've had this conversation. We've come to a point which we believe is a critical point in the history of this franchise. Today at practice, a team just past the midway point of their season or thereabouts, okay?
In a playoff race,
had 2 members of the media there covering practice. Two members of the media. Meanwhile, the Montreal Canadiens in Brassard, over the bridge, had their development camp with no pro player there. It's all players that were drafted this year or thereabouts, or players on tryouts. There were about 40 members of the media. There were about 15 cameras. There were about thousands of people, probably fans, that were there. You couldn't find a parking spot if you arrived just on time. You had to park way over in the whole cart seat in the shopping center, thereabouts. There was not an empty seat in the arena. It was standing room all around the glass, and you couldn't find the spot. Two members of the media were at CF Montreal practice today.
Well, listen, Tony, there was one player available, Joel Waterman. The scrum lasted 4 minutes. Let me ask you this. If CF Montreal announces today that Olivier Giroux's coming to Montreal and they're going to make the signing official tomorrow, you think that it's a little bit more, maybe it's not even, but you think it's a little bit more even?
I would say that all the media that was there at Habs development camp today will be at that press conference when they're announcing Giroux. Everyone will be there.
So that's, this is what I say all the time is,
and that's the buzz. And
soccer,
by the way, we didn't mention that it's July 4th, by the way.
Exactly.
July 4th.
Soccer here is not popular enough with players that don't really have a name for media outlets and bosses to say, we absolutely have to be there. So if you want to twist their arm and you want to make sure that they're there, there's only one way to do that. You got to get yourself a name where the guy in the newsroom says, we got to go. We got to go. What if he says something? What if,
anyway,
you understand?
We had our say. We're not saying it to criticize. We're not saying it to be negative. It's that the reality is negative. We're hoping it can serve as a wake-up call. We're just trying to help. If you want our help, we're there to help. If you don't want our help, you can always come out with another promotion, 2 hot dogs, a chip, and a drink for the super price of $20 plus taxes.
Yeah, listen, I got to tell you today, Tony, all this that you talked about got me particularly depressed.
2 hot dogs and a drink, by the way, super large hot dogs at Costco are $3.
Because I look at other markets, normal markets, they don't have this. And then we wonder why people go crazy and start insulting a young 18-year-old player on social media because the Canadians picked him. But this is the monster we've created here, right? We obsess, and some people out there, they're not mentally stable. And when you tell them something but obsessively, they start believing it. And they start thinking that they know what the heck they're talking about. And when things don't happen the way that they think they're supposed to happen, even though they don't know anything, then they start attacking people on social media. This is the monster that we have created here in Montreal. This is it. Because in the normal market, during the summer or off-season, they're talking about their other teams. That's what they do. They don't have time to start analyzing and overanalyzing and overanalyzing who we're going to pick in the next draft that's going to be good in 5 years. Why? Because they have other teams playing right now.
Yes
that's
and no.
Important to them.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
In Barcelona, they don't talk about their second teams or their third teams, Jeremy. It's 12 months a year. It's FC Barcelona.
Yeah, but we're not in Barcelona. We're in North America.
But
where big cities have 3, 4, 5 professional teams. I'll tell you one thing. If the Montreal Expos were playing yesterday and there was 50,000 people in the stadium there and they were in a playoff race, we wouldn't be arguing so much about Machar.
Okay, so let's do this now. We scored a very nice goal today. Earlier today at practice.
I watched it. I saw it. I saw the scrimmage.
I was there, by the way. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about the starting lineup for CF Montreal on the weekend. The team that lost by a score of 1-0 to New York City FC. All right. Okay. Sirois in goal, the 3-man back line of Camacho with Waterman to his right and Corbeau to his left. In front of the back line, Wanyama and Saliba. Rea at left wing back. Lassiter at right.
This is wrong, by the way. Lassiter played on the left.
It's
Rea
inverted.
On the right.
Yes. Lassiter on the left and Rea on the right. That is correct. And Duke in behind Mason Toy and Sanusi Ibrahim. So a 3-4-1-2. And you're right. Unfortunately, we got that from Apple TV, and they got it wrong.
and this is, you know what? I work for Apple TV, and I've mentioned this many times.
It happens
Teams
often, Jeremy, that they're wrong.
too often, and it makes us look bad. It makes us look bad. Teams need to understand that they need to give us their starting lineup and a few hours at least before game time and their scheme. Because when we put this up on the screen at Apple TV, we look like fools because people look at this and say, "What? This is not right. This guy doesn't play there." You understand?
Yeah.
This is unfortunately a problem that we have with a lot of the teams that don't collaborate.
The subs, let's put it back up if we can. 1 second. The subs, of course, were Pantemis in goal and Jabang, Thorkelson, Campbell. On the back line, Hamdi, Miljevic, Vilsaint, Quizera, and Ofor. Those were your subs. All right, okay.
Yeah.
Pellegrini scores a fantastic goal in the first half to put New York City FC up by a score of 1-0. Jeremy, you saw the way the goal happened. You tell me.
Well, listen, I mean, he's got all the time in the world to line himself up and score that goal. I'm not taking anything away from it. It was a beautiful goal. But if you have somebody on him, there's no way he can score a goal like that. And Siwa did a great job because he almost got to it, by the way. But, you know, listen, you got to give Pellegrini credit on that goal. Unfortunately, the defense was not there for that specific goal. They should have been able to do better.
Okay, now the goal originates from New York City down the left wing. A cross comes into the box. They beat Rea, who's playing at the right wing back position. And if you go back and you listen to our last podcast, we talked about who would play the wing back position. We talked about a possibility of Rea at right wing back, and we both said, considering he hasn't played in a while, we don't think it's a good idea because he wouldn't have the cardio or the volume. We also said,
and the experience,
that Rea's preferred positions would be either in a 4-3-3 playing on the wing, or would be one of 2 10s in behind along with Duke in behind the striker. But no one listened to us. So they put Sean Rea at right wing back, and he had his worst game of the season. Do we agree?
Well, yeah, and the coach after the game said that clearly this was not going to be an option for the upcoming games. They were going to have to find somebody else to play that position. But yeah, we said it, that it really wouldn't be ideal to put him in that situation. I also understand that they're stuck. They don't have a million options at that position if they want to stay in that formation.
I said for one game, keep Lassiter at right wing back and put Quizera at left wing back. I said that?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, okay. Let's take a look at the goal now. The goal, Pellegrini, beautiful goal. Beautiful goal. He's left all alone. Now, we can take a look at, the back line. We can take a look at Lassiter, who when they're defending, the coach wants Lassiter to play as a left back when they're defending. But the guy who's closest to the player who scores the goal is Saliba. But Saliba is in no man's land. Now, here's my message again, and I'm going to get to it later on in the program. I'm all for playing the young players. Believe me, if there's one in the city that wants it, it's me. But your 2 players that struggled the most on the weekend versus New York City FC, or 2 of the 3 that struggled, the 2 players that struggled the most were Sean Rea and Nathan Saliba. They struggled a lot, especially defensively, in my opinion. So if you're going to play your young players, play them all. If you're willing to live with mistakes, don't live with mistakes for one, but not trust the other. And I know you know already where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because 2 days before the game, and we played the clip, Coach Losada was asked by you about Jules-Anthony Vilsaint. And he said, it's easy to think that when we don't put players in, that we should put players in. It's easy to think that. But you have to prove to me in practice that you're ready. Based on what I've seen so far in the games, in practice, and with the U23s, I don't get the sensation that Jules-Anthony Vilsaint said Coach Losada is ready. He said this on Thursday morning. And he said, I'm not just going to throw him to the lion's den and hope that it works out. And I'm not just going to put him in for the sake of putting him in because it's we haven't scored and we need a goal. I'm not going to do that. Give or take, that's what he said on Thursday night. Correct? Thursday morning,
Yes,
correct?
Yes.
Perfect. So now they play the game on Saturday. And at the 70th minute, let's bring up the substitutions if we can. Here are the substitutions that were made. Campbell came in for Waterman at the 46th. Ofer came in for Rea at the 71, and Vilsaint. So Ofer came in for Rea. Vilsaint came in for Toy. At the 78th, there was Miljevic for Duke, and at the 86th, there was Quizera for Lassiter. Okay. So now, Vilsaint comes in at the 71st minute when the team hasn't scored a goal. So the coach told us he wasn't going to put him in for the sake of putting him in. The coach told him he has told us he hadn't convinced him, okay? But then he decided to put him in on Saturday. Okay, You know what? Great. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You put him in. Jeremy, I read the comments when we tweet here, and you can follow us on Twitter at SickPodCFMTL. Some have told me, because from day one, I have said that outside of Romel Kyoto, Jules-Anthony Vilsaint is the most talented and best striker on this team outside of Kyoto. I've said that.
Many times.
And I've also said that, in my opinion, the player with the most potential, with the highest ceiling on this team for potential resale is Jules-Anthony Vilsaint. I've also said that many times. Now, a lot of people have said, Tony, you don't know what you're talking about. The coach knows what he's talking about. The coach knows him. You don't know. Well, the coach is with him every day, yes, but I can tell you right now, I've seen that player play more games than the coach has. That's number one. Number two, I could tell you that I know a lot more about that person than the coach does. That's number two. Number three, I could tell you that I know a lot more about what makes him tick than the coach does. That's number three. But anyway, long story short, I'm going to ask you a question now. Who was their best player on the field in the last 20 minutes of the game? Not the second best, the third best, the fourth best. Who was the best player on the field in the last 20 minutes of the game?
It was him. Yeah. I really liked the way he came in, Tony, for a lot of reasons. First of all, I thought that he moved around very well. He didn't stay at one place. He didn't mind going to the sides, picking up the ball, giving himself as an option to the wingers. I really like the fact that, as soon as he found himself in a shooting lane, he wasn't scared to try the shots. A lot of young players don't have that confidence. Hernan Lozada keeps telling us, I want guys to take shots from outside the box when they have a shooting lane. He took more than one. I think he put two of them on target, and there were opportunities to even score goals there. At one point, the keeper fumbles with the ball. Sanusi a little bit too far. There could have been a possibility to score. I think the team is really lacking that. I thought he looked very fluid on the field when he had the ball at his feet. He reminded me a little bit of Ismael Kone. And the thing that I noticed the most also, Tony, is that I remember when I asked Losada maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I don't remember, if Jules-Anthony Vilsaint could be an option as a 10. Jules had explained to us in Florida during training camp that that's the position in which he was formed in. That's the position he's the most comfortable in. And after watching that game, Tony, I got to say, I think the kid's right. I think his spot is in the middle of the park.
So,
not necessarily only as a striker, but anyways, listen, Tony, I really liked what I saw. That was the only moments in the game where they were actually threatening.
But Jeremy, I want to say it's true. I am infatuated with the kid. I'm infatuated. I am. You know what? I was infatuated about Ismael Kone too. On August 17, 2020, when his U21 Saint Laurent team beat Fabros by a score of 5-1, and he scored 3 goals 3 different ways, I contacted coaches in the MLS. I contacted executives. I contacted members of management. I contacted people in soccer around the world. I sent them WhatsApp messages, and I told them about this kid, and they told me that the kid wasn't good enough to be on their team. No, he's not good. He's not ready. We don't. Yeah. Didn't take me seriously. I went to bat. I said within 2 years, this kid will be playing in Europe. You know what? I was probably wrong by a couple of months because he didn't start playing in Europe in August of 2022, but he was moved to Europe in October of 2022 or November, whenever it was, right? It was so in November of 2022 or October 2022, he was sold. So 2 years later, I was infatuated with Kone. My eyes, when my eyes see what they see, I'm going to go to bat for you. And I went to bat for Kone, and I'm going to go to bat for Vilsaint. And I also told you, Jeremy, and I'm going to make this a day of I told you so because I think I've deserved it. I'm going to tell you this. I also told you, correct me if I'm wrong, that if Jules-Anthony Vilsaint is a better 10 than anybody on CF Montreal. Did I say that? I said outside of Kyoto, he's the most talented striker they have. And on the wing, he would be better than any winger that they have. And he's the best 10 that they have. But if he doesn't play, he'll never get a chance to show it. And when he wasn't playing, everyone was saying, Marinaro, you're infatuated, you're dumb, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just a podcaster, and if the kid's not playing, he's not good enough. Yeah. Well, the kid showed you a glimpse of what he can do. And Patrice Bernier, who I would think knows a thing or two about a soccer player and a midfielder as well. I don't know if you saw his tweet, Jeremy.
No, I didn't see. A couple
of days ago, he said, I'm rewatching the CF Montreal game, and I'm telling you, the more and more I see Vilsaint, the more and more I think he could be the 10 on this team.
Well, but again, as you mentioned, if you want him to become the 10, and as I mentioned, the coach said he doesn't see him there. We'll see what happens. But as you mentioned, he needs to play. And I mentioned last Thursday when we did our last show, as I said, I understand if you don't want to give this kid a start or to start, a bunch of games in a row, because that would be the same thing as what they did with Saliba at the beginning. He might not be ready for that. But even though he didn't score on Saturday, Tony, the information that you go get when you play this kid in a situation like that for those 20 minutes, that's gold. That's gold. You need that information, and you need to give the kid some time, playing time, to show what he can do, and that's how he's going to evolve. That's how he's going to graduate.
Jeremy, when the coach says he doesn't see him as a 10, to see things in life, A, you have to open your eyes, and B, when your eyes are open, if you can't see well, you got to wear glasses, which is what I'm doing right now. Okay?
Okay, listen, Tony, I'm going to tell you one thing.
Tell me.
If after this game, Losada still thinks that this kid can't play in this league yet, or is not an option to at least be tried as a 10, I don't know what he's looking at. And I think Losada knows what he's talking about. He's played this game for a long time at the highest level in Europe and everything. I mean,
but it's not because you coach, Jeremy.
Jeremy, it's not because see what we saw.
But Jeremy,
Jeremy,
I understand that, but you know what? Thierry Henry used to coach this team, and so did Remy Gard, and so did so many others, and they're not always right. And by the way, we're not always right either. But to automatically dismiss something the way he did, Saliba can play 3 positions. He can play 10, he can play 8, he can play 6, according to the coach, and he comes on and he never comes off, and yada, 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 and he's the next one they think they're going to sell and all that stuff, whatever. Okay, all the power to him. Choinière can play 10, he can play 7, he can play 11, he can play 8, he can play 6, he can play 5 positions. But say no. Only 9, but only 9 every now and then off the bench, every 7th game for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, when the coach said what he said on Thursday morning, and they only had 1 practice after that, which was the Friday practice, and then they played on Saturday. And the coach said that this kid is not ready, and I'm not going to throw him to the lines then, and this and that and whatever. Just not going to put him on for the sake of putting him on if we haven't scored a goal. The coach, is it safe to say that the kid proved the coach wrong on Saturday night? Is it safe to say?
I hope so. Well, the thing that I didn't really like, I got to say, is that after the game, the question was asked to him, what did you think of his performance? And I thought that was a great opportunity for Hernan to come out and say, you know what? I said on Thursday that I thought this kid wasn't ready, but I got to say tonight, he surprised me. He played well. I was really happy with the way he came in. That would have been enough. But he didn't go that way. He said, I like the way he came in.
Let's go to the clip, Jeremy. Let's go to the clip. We have it.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about Vilsaint. He came off the bench. He came on. I think he had a couple of good chances. What did you think of the time that he played tonight?
I think he came in well. All the subs came in with the right spirit, with the right mentality. George, Chinoso, Matko, and José, a lot less minutes than the other players. But I think when they came in, there was something extra. We had more energy, we had more power, we started to create more chances. So, okay, that's the right mentality, and I think it's a good starting point for him. But in general, I'm always satisfied about the subs when they are coming in.
All right. So, Jeremy, I totally agree with you. And this is the problem that I have, okay? This is the problem. How am I going to say this? I might as well just say it, okay? He said, when you asked him about Vilsaint on Thursday, he gave a clip, they gave an answer that lasted about 1 minute and 45 seconds, why the kid's not ready and why the kid's not good enough right now, okay? And the kid showed everyone what he showed us, and this is the beauty of soccer, that eventually, when you end up getting in there, the tape doesn't lie. It's the field that does the talking. The other stuff, it's all pipi, papa, pipi, and coco. The field does the talking. The tape, it doesn't lie. It never has, and it never will. On Saturday night was an amazing opportunity, like you just said, for Coach Losada to say, guys, I have to tell you, it was just on Thursday morning that I told you that I didn't have the sensation that this kid can help me, and I wasn't going to put him on for the sake of putting him on. I didn't think he was ready to help my team, and I wasn't willing to throw him to the Lions then. And I said that based on what I had seen, he had not convinced me that he was ready to help my team. I have to tell you, I am pleasantly surprised by what I saw tonight. Yeah. The kid was dangerous from the first second that he came on. I thought he was the best player on the field. He gave our team a spark. I was very, very impressed. I have to admit, the kid proved me wrong. And tonight is a great opportunity to build off of this. And going forward, this kid's going to get more minutes. That's the answer of A, a gentleman, and B, someone who's humble, and C, someone who's fair. The answer that he gave, that 45-second answer that he talked about the kid for 8 seconds, and for 37 seconds, he talked about everyone else. Nobody asked about everyone else. Elias Larati asked the question about Vilsaint. Why are you talking about Jojea? Why are you talking about Miljevic? Yeah. Why are you talking about Ofer? Why are you talking about Campbell? Why? He didn't ask you about those guys.
Yeah, and let's be honest. You can't analyze the performance of those 5 players on Saturday night as being equal. There was one guy who stood out. That's it. So that's where I find it's a little bit unfair for the kids.
And Jeremy, if you get an answer like the answer that we proposed, could you imagine if you're the kid how good you feel about it?
Of course, but that's, hey, what do we say about parenting, right? It's an amount of equal amount of love and discipline, right? So if you decided to give him the axe on Thursday, pat him in the back when you need to also, right? If you thought that he wasn't working hard enough before Thursday and you thought it was important for you to come out and say it, then you got to also say it when the kid does something good, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
It wasn't only about working hard. He didn't think he was good enough. And everyone saw what they saw. Anyway, look, we're happy he got
Tony,
in.
People, I said on Twitter, I said, I've seen enough in 20 minutes. This guy has more talent than Sunusi Ibrahim and Chinonzo Ofor. It's not even, there's no discussion there.
They're not in
and
the
some
same
people
category.
said, it's only 20 minutes. Don't judge too much. No, I don't need more than 20 minutes.
Those people don't know what they're talking about.
I don't need more than 20 minutes. I saw what I saw. This guy's got more skill and talent than
I know this kid like the back of my hand. I know him like the back of my hand. He's one of the reasons why I fell in love with amateur soccer. And you know, if there would be more players like him, I would love it even more. So, you know, with all due respect to everyone else and all due respect to the fans, when they start comparing this and this and that, whatever, folks, rib steak is not filet mignon. Okay? Rib steak is not filet mignon. All right, okay. What's the injury situation like?
Okay, so today at practice, Piet was back with the group. I mean, he's been back with the group since last week. I don't see how Piet doesn't dress for Saturday. I mean, if he doesn't dress, we have a problem. There's something that we're not understanding because he was planning to come back on June 21st. We are now well into July. If he doesn't dress for Saturday's game, on a problem. Okay,
it was a good decision by Losada, by the way, not to dress him, Jeremy, because when a player is coming off of injury with those kind of weather conditions, that you don't want that to be the first game back. Losada made a very good decision there.
No problem. Okay, so Lassi Lapalainen training by himself, Matthew Chouinière training by himself. So let's see from now till the end of the week, you know, how those guys, if they got the guys joined the group. I think they're both doubtful for Saturday's game, but I got to be thinking that Piet is probable.
All right, okay. The Mercado opens.
Yes, tomorrow. Yep. We should have confirmation about the arrival of Messi, because none of that has been confirmed, by the way. Sergio Busquets, maybe even Sergio Ramos. We'll see. Not much going on the Montreal front. As I mentioned earlier, I was able to get in touch with Eden Hazard's agent, even though the club has denied it many, many times that there is no interest for him. But I just wanted to make sure. There's some rumors that are saying he might be going to Vancouver. I don't know if you saw Lorenzo Insigne in Toronto has apparently changed agents and wants out of Toronto. It's only been a year.
Jeremy, if Hazard would come to the MLS, to take the decision to come to the MLS, the team he's got to go to is Montreal. I mean, he knows Olivier Renard like this. He knows Laurent Simon like this.
They don't want to put the money
together with Jeremy. What money? They just bought him out of $20 million or whatever it is. This guy's got $8 gazillion in the bank. He can come here and play for free.
Tony, they fought over like $100,000 with Kai Kamara for like 6 months until at the end they couldn't look at each other in the face and they had to get rid of him. And then we have a coach saying we need a spark up top. We need somebody to score goals. But you had a guy that costed nothing, and you guys got into a scrap with him, and now he's in Chicago. He's going to the All-Star game. So I mean, we're $100,000 we're talking about here. So if they don't want to put the money, he's not going to come. But again, I'm not so sure he's the right choice to come here. We'll see. But
Eden Hazard?
Yeah,
he would sell tickets, Jeremy. So of course it's the right
I understand.
choice.
But the guy hasn't dressed. He hasn't dressed at all. I think he played 6% of the games in this last calendar year. I mean, that's just, you're not there. You're just like Nelson Rivas. He was always on the bike pedaling, but he was never actually playing.
Jeremy, I understand. But if you take a look at the league he was playing with all due respect, compared to this league, it's like
but if you're hurt, you're hurt, Tony. Doesn't matter where you are.
He needs to be healthy 100%. I mean, but
that's the thing.
He'll be able to do things walking in this league if he wanted to. And look, it's
listen. I think honestly,
he'll be a draw.
Honestly, if they pick up two players, if they move two players out, I'm talking about either players that are underperforming or players that the coach doesn't see in his plans. Two players. You move two players out and move two good players in, everything changes. Everything changes according to me. So let's see what happens. There hasn't been many rumors. People on Twitter are asking me, how come, years ago you were reporting on rumors here, rumors there, rumors there. Hey, listen, I'm not going to be making up rumors, and I'm not going to be going on the air making you believe that this guy's coming, that guy's coming. Trust me, as soon as I hear something, I'll be on it. Like I'm on the Eden Hazard story. But otherwise, I'm not going to be here making up stories.
Who would you replace, Sanusi and Hamdi?
Sanusi, yes. I don't think he's of caliber to play in this league, unfortunately. Hamdi, the coach, obviously is not interested in him. His contract ends at the end of the year. Can you get him out now? I would probably even try to get rid of Milovic, although I think we should try to give him more minutes to see what he can give. But clearly the coach not crazy about his way of playing or the way he handles himself during practice or whatever it is. So,
Miljevic has had dust-ups with several players going back to last year. Today, this year, I think
again last week.
Yeah, was it with
I
Ray?
don't want to mention, but yeah.
I heard a name. I don't know. Well, you're not going to confirm it, but I heard the dust-up last week was with Raya, and I heard the dust-up a couple of months ago was with Hamdi. And I heard there was a dust-up, I think, last year with Kone. But, I mean, there's been several, but he's
okay. So the guy makes over $500,000. He never plays. If you're not going to use him, move him, replace him by somebody else that can help you right now. I don't know, but those would be my candidates to try.
We don't have these problems on the Sick Podcast. We give you over 500,000, and we use you all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
you want to talk about Team Canada
in 30 seconds, if we can? I know that that you're on your way here, so in 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. So Team Canada tonight. What's the scenarios against Cuba? Well, it's not very complicated. They need a win. They have to win against Cuba. If they don't win, they're not going through to the next round. After that, everything depends on what happens between Guadeloupe and Guatemala. If Guadeloupe and Guatemala tie, Canada needs to win by 2. If either Guadeloupe or Guatemala wins, then they just need a win to go through. I mean, I'm guessing that they're going to beat Cuba tonight. If you can't beat Cuba, honestly, pack your stuff and we're going to go do something else because, it's not happening.
Milan Borjan is hurt and gone back to recover. And so I guess it begs the question, what about Jonathan Sirois going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, listen, it's not impossible that because you know that they can add players, they can still add players for the elimination round. So after tonight's game, Herdman can technically call Montreal and say and ask if Sirois is available. They don't have to send them. They don't have to. But he can ask for him. Now, is it in Sirois' best interest right now to leave Montreal and go be the third keeper for Team Canada and watch his team play for the next 2 weeks? And not participate, or should he stay here and be in front of Montreal's net? I mean, I think it begs the reflection. I think it would be good for James Pantemis to get a few starts if he does go. But this situation will be on the table as of the next 24 hours. So Thursday we'll be able to ask the coach about that.
He's Jeremy Filosa of 98.5 FM and EMFC Radio. Follow us on YouTube, of course, and subscribe, or follow us on Twitter at SickPod CFMTL. CF Montreal host Atlanta United this Saturday. We'll talk to you again in a couple of days on the Sick Podcast. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.